the blood of the new and everlasting covenant. And once again the disciples drank from the cup. And then he said, crucially, do this in memory of me. So this was not just a one-off meal, it was something that he wanted his followers to repeat.
One of the core beliefs of Christianity, the sacrament of the Eucharist, or Holy Communion, derives from the words spoken by Jesus at that meal. The act has become central to all Christian worship.
The Eucharist is the source and summit of the Christian life. It's really at the heart of everything we do, everything we believe. We believe that Christ is present under the appearance of bread and wine. And when we receive the bread and wine at communion, we are receiving Jesus. We are one with him.
But on that day in Valencia, to Janice it seemed almost absurd. Surely she couldn't be standing just a few meters away from the Holy Grail.
I really didn't feel anything when I looked at it. It didn't speak to me in any way. And I wasn't captivated by it. I wasn't particularly impressed.
Janice noticed that none of the other visitors seemed particularly awestruck either.
As I recall, there were only one or two other people in the chapel. They seemed to be either disinterested or, at the very least, unaware of what they were actually seeing.
But even so, Janice's interest was piqued to find out more.
I looked in the gift shop in the cathedral. The only thing I could find was a small brochure that had been rather poorly translated from Spanish into English.
It didn't say much, but reading the booklet, Janice began to discover a little more about the chalice's history. She was hardly the first to be drawn into the mystery of the Holy Grail.
The interest in chalices emerges from a desire to come in contact with something that had actually come in contact with the body of Christ.
For centuries, Grail hunters from all over the world have been searching for this miraculous object.
It symbolizes redemption, it symbolizes salvation, it symbolizes eternal life. And in a way, the Holy Grail stands for man's quest for God, man's quest for truth.
The Holy Grail in the Middle Ages became the motif of a lot of legends and romances and poetry, became the symbol of the aspiration of any Christian knight to go on a quest for the Holy Grail.
It's this incredible holy object that you search for on a great quest. It represents chastity and purity.
Along the way, it has become shrouded in myths and mystical powers.
It heals wounds, you know, it offers salvation.
So much so that even at the height of the Nazi regime, Heinrich Himmler, the head of the SS, searched for the Grail, believing its powers would help win him the war. He converted a great castle into a modern-day Camelot, with a ritual chamber and its own round table. He planned to display the Grail here, but he too failed in his quest.
It's become the one object in the world that is almost impossible to attain. It's become a symbol of something far beyond human aspirations, the absolute pinnacle of what we desire.
So over the centuries, the Grail has received many associations. Everything from St. Joseph of Arimathea and Glastonbury King Arthur and his knights, the Templars, and more recently Dan Brown, Indiana Jones, Monty Python. But essentially, beneath all these stories and myths is this idea of a cup that Jesus used at the Last Supper the night before he was crucified.
So could this object in Valencia be the true cup of Christ? That same one everyone has been searching for? Janice's research showed whether this was or wasn't the real Grail, people had been prepared to die for it.
I found a very small booklet that had been written by Olmos Canalda. Now, he was a Spanish priest who was actually responsible for saving this chalice from destruction during the Spanish Civil War.
In the 1930s, Spain was a deeply divided country, politically torn between right-wing nationalist and left-wing Republican parties. As the Great Depression hit, the country fell into turmoil. After the king abdicated, Spain, and like all civil committed by both sides.
What time is
At 9 a.m. on the 21st of July 1936, 4 people celebrated Mass with the Holy Chalice for the last time.